I'm Pam Johnson. I'm the blended learning coach for Reynolds Middle Schools. I actually should list those out. It's King Creek Middle School, AC Reynolds Middle School, and AC Reynolds High School.
And I'm Leanne Davis, and I am the blended learning coach at TC Robertson High School, the Buncombe County Early College and Middle College, Nesbitt Discovery Academy, and the Virtual Academy for Buncombe County Schools.
That's a long list, Leanne.
It is a long list.
That's good.
A lot of acronyms.
I know. We're so excited that you're here with us today because Buncombe County has paid accounts for everyone for Formative. And then if we also have users who are familiar with Formative, then we want to hear from you as we move forward. So the first thing we're going to look at are our learning targets. So this is what we're hoping to achieve today. So here's our agenda. We're using the 5 E's. We like this. It's they use it a lot in science classrooms for lesson design. So basically, we're going to get engaged with Formative, look at it from a student side. Then we're going to explore some data, see what that looks like, let you ask some questions, because that's what you would do if you gave students a Formative. Then we'll create one. So let you go in as a teacher and practice creating and see some of the really cool features that Formative has. And finally, we'll end with some time for you to hang out and ask us questions, finish your Formative so that you're ready to work with students with that Formative tomorrow or next week. So our first thing is we hope everybody got on our slides. This slide, do you know what slide this is, Leanne, so that they can go straight to this one? It's got the big one on it. Slide number, it's hard to see that when you're presenting. I'll have a second. Oh, 5. Ta-da, it's on the left. So if you click on slide 5, there's a link where you can join our Formative, and we have 3 questions for you. So we want you to go practice that. And let me give you about 2 minutes to go do that Formative. Just unmute yourself and let us know if you can't get the Formative to pop up.
Mine is not working. I cannot drag it. Do you have to click on the face?
So no, what it asks you to do, and this is good, we're glad, we wanted to try something different, one that maybe you hadn't tried before. So on this one, you click show your work and you have to draw.
Oh, got you. Thank you.
Yeah. So this one, you'll click show your work, and I think I'm in the teacher view instead of the student view. So, but you'll have to draw, and you're welcome to draw any of those. Those are just examples. About 30 more seconds. And I know it's hard in a Zoom sometimes, but you guys are Zoom experts now, but to toggle between my shared screen and your Formative screen to work on this. But in my shared screen, I'm looking at this and I get live data. So I can see who's finished.
Yeah, as a classroom teacher, I used to love this because I could go in and as I'm watching the room and watching students work on assignments in Formative, I could see who was actually progressing, who would get stuck, see if anybody needed help too. And be able to offer that because it loads in real time and it's live. So that's pretty cool. I love that aspect of Formative.
I do too. Plus it helps like with wait time. I'm terrible with wait time. So if I look at this and I say I need to wait a little bit longer. I am going to like push this a little bit though. So if you were just on question 1, if you'll go to question 2 and 3, or we can actually move forward without you finishing. That's okay too.
Hey Pam, this is Brian. I was wondering, I was trying to draw an emoji, and then I had trouble getting it out of the draw mode. Every time I tried to click on something like an eraser or a check, it was just adding ink to those spots. What do the students do to?
Well, you know what? Let's try this. If everybody's okay, while you all finish, I'm going to stop sharing. And Brian, do you mind to share your screen and we'll just take a quick look at that?
Yeah,
we may or may not be able to fix it, but we'll try.
I already backed out of it, just trying to click everything that I could.
Okay.
So I don't think that's going to be much help, I guess.
Well, if you click on absolutely, that's it. Click on our link one more time and let's just take a look at that. Because these are common. This is why it's really important we feel that you have that student experience. And while you could preview it, sometimes it's not the same thing as actually doing that. So click on show your work. Yep, that's
Right.
where you were.
And then I clicked on a pen and I was drawing. Okay, and so once you're done drawing, I was having trouble finding where to go, like to end what I'm doing.
All right, so if you will look in the top right, there is a check box.
Right.
Try clicking that.
Okay, it worked this time. Last time I was just getting ink there. I don't know why.
Well, and you know what? That could be the browser you're in. We haven't tested this. I see that you're in Edge, and Edge is that Edge actually is even a little bit older than one of the edges that we're using. So I'm just looking at the icon. So, it's a good point. It could be that it works better in Google. In Chrome. So
Okay.
Great. Okay, good. I'm glad we were able to troubleshoot that. I'm going to let you stop sharing, and I'm going to move us along. And thanks for that, Brian. Actually,
Thank you.
That helps us as the student experience to know what to do. All right. So you guys got to look at 3 questions. And we wanted to give you an example of our focus with the content today is with previewing. And so previewing it's an excellent strategy, a high impact strategy for teachers to use in a lesson. So the first one actually, though, was more of a check-in for us, right? We kind of wanted to see, where are you today, or how do you feel? So that was that one. But the next 2, where you're going to take a minute and look at an image, this would be something you might use to activate background knowledge or to get students curious about a topic, like what's going on here, and just have them take a real close look and tell us what they notice. And then the next one that we used was a graphic organizer, but you use it as an advanced organizer in previewing. And what I mean by that is it's already completed with something the students are familiar with. And so you ask them a question about that so that they look at one that's already done. They understand how to take information off of this map, how to use that information. So then later on in your content, if you're going to use that graphic organizer, they already know how to use it. So that's a way that we can preview a tool that we're going to use later and let them see what's going on. So I'm going to close the student view and we'll look at your data. On the left, notice I've got your names, but if you wanted to work with students, you can hide names. You can come over and look at each individual question. And across the top, we have edit, which will take me right back to my formative. I have assign, which we'll look at later. And then we have view responses. So if you get off of this responses, this is how you go back to it. You open that formative, you click on view responses, and then you can look down and see what wonderful artists y'all are. All right, so what I'm going to do now, this was our, just our first look at data and this data screen. I'm actually going to stop sharing and let Leanne go in, and let's open up a live teacher screen, one that was a real assessment, and let you see some of that real-time data and what that might look like. Before I do, are there any questions before we move on? And this is a small group, real informal, so feel free to just unmute and ask. I may not see your hand if you're holding your hand up because I've only got like 3 little images at the bottom so I can see my screen. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing, and Leanne's going to take us in and look at a little bit more deep dive in the data.
Okay, so before we go on to the data, there is a link here that you guys can click in your copy of the slides that just talks about, the previewing strategy. It is called Catching Up at-Risk Students, but really this article is appropriate for anybody, especially if you want to see how the previewing strategy works for multiple ways. Okay. All right, let's explore some data. So what I've done is I have pulled up another teacher's data here so that we can kind of examine what this looks like. And I chose a math teacher because Formative seems to be a really popular tool for our math teachers. So I've hidden the names of the students in the class, which is important, which Pam showed you guys. You can do that here. If I wanted to show the names, I would just click that again. But we're going to look at second block here. And you can see all of the green means that those students got those questions right. You notice some red, and obviously those are the questions that were incorrect. But then you also see some of these little exclamation points and other little signs. So we're going to investigate what those look like and see what we can do with giving some feedback in Formative.
Hey, Leanne, do you mind to zoom in just a little bit so that we can see some of those numbers too? That might be helpful. Perfect, thanks.
Awesome. All right. So we're looking at this first one. There's a little exclamation point here, and it actually says this response was edited after it was graded. So we know that the student went back and actually fixed their answer. So it looks like after they realized they got it wrong, they went back and fixed it. So it actually lets the teacher know that they need to go back and maybe give some credit. So this up here is where you can give students credit. You know, each of these questions were out of 1 point. So the teacher might go back and give an extra point to that student. So we'll look at where that actually took place. So you can see these are little comment icons and the exclamation point. So the teacher left a comment that said, you were supposed to do this one algebraically. And the student responded, fixed. So they actually fixed it. And you can see how the student worked out the problem. Now, if I wanted to go in and give a student feedback, like, you know, no, actually, that's not what I meant. I actually wanted you to do it like this. I might circle the problem. I could add a text box. All these features over here on the toolbar, I could add an image that shows maybe a picture of what I would rather that look like. I can add shapes, but it's pretty cool that you can leave feedback by drawing.
Question.
Yeah. Yes.
With the feedback, when I was trying to do it, I couldn't get it to stay. Do I need to click that check mark that was over there for it to stay? Okay.
Yes.
And this is real data, so that's why Leanne didn't do that.
Yeah.
This is somebody else's.
Yeah, I don't want to mess with this teacher. She was so awesome to let me use her class. So I don't want to click on anything, but yes. So if I wanted to go into this one and draw feedback, yeah. And I left something here, like maybe I wanted to say, no, this is where you went wrong, honey, go back and check that out. Then I would click, you know, the blue checkbox. Always look for that blue checkbox. But yeah, I don't want to save that. Okay. So I'm going to close out of that. So these icons are really cool. Students can see them, teachers can see them, and it's really effective, I think, to just be able to really give feedback, because that's, you know, what formative assessment is for. And this is the Formative app. So if you wanted to look at specific questions and you wanted to look at question number 1, of course, everybody in this class got that right. Question number 2, everybody got right. Question number 3, 2 people got wrong. So in this view, you can kind of see, okay, 2 people got it wrong. What happened? Did they have the same issue? And you can investigate to see maybe people are getting confused in the same area. And you can go question by question.
And to get that grading box to pop up again, you just,
sorry.
That's okay. I was just gonna.
Just click on one.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, you can just click on each individual one if you wanted to. Cool. And I'll go back to totals. So you can see each individual student's grade here. on the side. And of course, if we had the names shown, we would know what each student got. And you can see each class average here under totals. And you can see the average of all 3 of her classes here. And then we know that, everybody was really good in every single class with question number 1. So we probably wouldn't go back and revisit that. Question number 2, probably won't have to revisit any problems that are written like that, or question number 5. But some of the other ones, maybe there's a couple of students that need to focus on those types of questions. You might revisit those later, or even pull small groups to work with students for that.
Any questions about the data so far? Anybody a formative at user who wants to share something that they know about the data? Who uses it a lot? We always love these share times because we learn new stuff too.
Yes, please feel free to jump in if you have something really cool or unique to share.
All right. I think we're ready to jump into creating on your slides. So, and I don't have the hover now, so I can't hover over to see what slide this is, but where it says the 3, and I'll find that slide. I'll get that. If you'll go to this slide, one thing that we want you to do is we'd like for you to log into Formative. And maybe, Leanne, if you go back to your Formative, if you'll escape for a second, we'll show everyone what we'd like to check today. So in your Formative, top right where your icon is, if you'll click that avatar, if you don't have an avatar, it might have your initials. And then click on Plan. And under Plan, you should see Team, Advanced Partner Features, and Teacher Premium. And if you don't see that, then on the slide, let me go find that slide, what slide that was for you guys. That was slide 10. There is a premium account link, and all that is a Google Doc. And I just want you to go into that Google Doc and give me your name and your school. And while we are creating with Leanne, and you can still create in your free version, I'll make sure that your plan is updated for you. So again, let me pause a second because I think I jumped ahead of myself. Where Leanne's at, where it says plan, if yours has a big notice that says upgrade to premium, that's when you want to tell me. You'll want to go to that Google Doc and let me know. And then also, one thing that's important is notice below Leanne's, it says school or team. We would need you to add your school if you haven't already. So if you're in the Reynolds district, it's not AC Reynolds, it's just Reynolds Middle School. And you'll be able to see because all of them have a Asheville below it or a location below it. So we need you to adjust your account information to add that school, and then I can go in and verify your account and give you premium. And our goal today then is to walk away with at least a 3, maybe a 4 or 5 question formative. So right now, everyone should be in. If you are not in, you can let me know in the chat, and I could actually go in a breakout room with you and work kind of one-on-one if we need to, if you run into trouble.
Okay, so I'm going to just kind of model what it's going to look like when we create a formative, and then each step that I take, I'm going to ask you guys to take that step and do kind of the same thing with something of your own creation, just so that you can get that feel for creating in formative. All right, so we're going to go to formatives. I'm not sure what screen everybody's on, but usually at the top, you'll see formatives is an option. So when
I'm going to pause you 1 second, Leanne. It might be good if you all watch her. She's going to go in small steps because splitting your screen from the Zoom and then go try it in just a second. She's going to give you a break. Go ahead, Leanne.
Yeah, I'll go pretty slow here so you can kind of watch what I do and then go back to your screen and give it a try.
And one more interruption. Brian, did you want to say something?
Oh, yeah. I was just going to type it in chats. I'm signed up for Valley Springs still, but I'm not a teacher there anymore.
Okay,
So is there a way to change that, or
I will fix that. What school are you at?
at the virtual academy? It has me under Valley Springs and community.
Okay, I'll fix that for you right now as we get started. So keep on working with Leanne, and that'll just kind of happen in the background.
Sorry to interrupt.
It's all good. Okay, so here I am at Formatives, and I'm going to click on New Formative to create a new formative. Immediately, it's going to tell me that it's untitled, formative, number, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and give mine a creative title. I'm going to call it Spooky Season because it's October. And that's going to be my theme. So in just a minute, when I give you a chance to create your own, make sure that you give it a title first, because sometimes we get carried away creating something and we forget to give it a title, and then we forget what number, because Formative will just continue assigning numbers to each one that you create, and it gets a little bit confusing because sometimes the numbers don't make sense. All right, so I'm going to add a new piece of content. I'm actually going to start with an image, which is something that you saw in the formative that Pam had us do at the very beginning of our session. We analyzed an image in that first practice one that we did. So I'm thinking of something in my mind that has to do with Halloween. So I'm just going to search it, and that way I know I'm not violating any copyright, because it's only going to pull things that are appropriate. And I'm going to look for a monster because that's fun. Not anything super creepy, but just creepy enough. That's pretty creepy. Okay, so I've added my image, and then I am going to add a question to go with my image. And maybe I just want it to be an audio response. So that's going to be the next thing that we do. We're going to do an audio response. So we're going to look for an image to add, and we're going to add an audio response. So I am going to let you all take it away at this point, and you're going to create. So I'll go back and show you under Formatives, New Formative. So you'll click New Formative. I'm going to go down and click on mine. We're going to name it up here at the top with the plus sign here that starts in the middle. Yours will be big blue plus sign. You're going to click Add an Image. And then when you find your image, you're going to click Add an Audio Response. Okay, I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to do that on your own. Maybe 2 minutes. Is that enough time?
Can you go please over the steps again really quick?
Sure.
Because
Okay.
the first one
So we're going to do New Formative.
okay, New Formative.
Mm-hmm.
I got the rest, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
I have to give it a title.
Yep. Give it a title. And then the big blue plus button will let you add content and questions. We're starting with content with an image, just to kind of get students thinking maybe about what we're starting. And when you've found that image that you want to use, we're going to add an audio response.
After you have your question for your audio response, for me, I have a plus. Do I need to do anything with the plus, or did I?
Let's just hang out for a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll let everybody get caught up.
I don't have the audio response option. Why can you find it?
Okay, so when you click on the blue plus button, it's a little microphone that says audio response.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, give us a thumbs up if you're ready to move forward. Just put that in the screen if you want. Good. Okay, good. I think, Leanne, I think most people are.
Okay. Great. So we're gonna scroll down to the next plus sign. We're gonna click on that, and now we're gonna try, and if you guys will watch my screen now, and then I'll give you a chance to go back to your screen. We're gonna upload our own content. So we're gonna practice doing that real quick. So when you click that plus sign, we're going to upload our own content. It's PDF, doc, image, Google Doc. So I'm going to click on that. Now you can choose to upload a picture that you already have. You can upload a document, take a photo, pick from Google Drive. I'm going to upload a document. Okay, so this is one that I actually added from Common Lit. So I downloaded the teacher copy from Common Lit. And I'm going to show you how you can add all of the 7 images, but then like I just want the story. So I'll show you how you can kind of get rid of any extra pages, because I know if you're looking around on Google looking for PDFs, sometimes they have extra pages that you don't really want. So you can't do that from this screen. But when you click add 7 pages, this is a really creepy story, by the way. Click Clack the Rattlebag if you haven't read it. So here's a page. I actually don't want to use this. Now, if I wanted to use these questions, then that's great. But if I want to get rid of it, the 3 little dots here, I can delete that page. I'm going to scroll up and do the same thing, because this is spooky season and we're just reading this story for fun. I have decided. No questions associated. Okay, so then I have my story that I added as a PDF from my computer. You can add from Google Docs. I'm going to give everybody a chance to do that. All you do is you go to the plus sign here, and if you click, you can't do a question that way, but you can click the plus sign and click Enhance a PDF, Doc, Image, Google Doc. And I want you to find something that you have already on your computer or in your Google Drive that you could add here that you might use in the future. So we might want to make this meaningful, make it useful. Look for something that you might have that you can add as a PDF or Doc or Google Doc. 2 more minutes, 2 minutes to do that.
Great, I'll start the timer. And like Leanne said, take a minute and try to find something that you're actually going to use. We want you to test this out with your students.
Leanne, do I need to click where no question associated, or do I just go scroll down to the bottom and I'm done if it's just something like a document I want them to read?
Well, we're going to play around with adding questions in. So when you, like if you wanted to add a question in, you could, and you can actually move them around. So like when you add the PDF or the document, you could click right here and embed any type of question. So if you wanted a free response question, you could click that and the little number will pop up right there. The computer's being extra.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. And then you can say, you know, make a prediction.
I was working on mine and I lost it. How can I, or where can I find what I was doing right now?
So if you go back to, are you looking at my screen by any chance?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So if you go back to the main page here, where we found our formatives, so just clicking on
Right.
formatives, you should see all of them. So whatever you named it, it should pop up right here and it saves automatically. So that's another beautiful aspect of formative, is that it saves everything automatically. So when you click to go back in there, everything should still be just as you left it.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So I just did want to point out one thing. Notice how Leanne made those, the number 2 there, the little marker for a question. If she had decided to keep that 3rd page that had those questions, this is one of the reasons I think a lot of our math teachers have really liked formative. One of the reasons is a lot of their sort of quick questions, assessments that they have are already in a PDF. And they're having to recreate these, or they don't really have a good PDF editor. So what they could do is pop that up. And Leanne, if you would over to the left, add another one. And let's say there was a math question or even an ELA or a science question, right? And so you click over right beside that question, and then you could put a show your work. And when you click on show your work option.
I actually have a math up if you want to look at.
Okay, good. Well, and what this does, we'll finish with hers and then we'll go look at yours. So click show your work. And what this will allow the student to do then is solve the problem by drawing or typing, like you all saw when you had to do a drawing of how you were feeling today. It'll give you that blank canvas. And that's been an excellent way for them to use a worksheet that already has the questions formatted, right? But then give them a lot of workspace to solve the problem.
Now, I should be sharing my screen.
You are, we see it. So maybe click on edit.
Okay, I was previewing as a student, and then I decided I'd wait. So I will go down. So
perfect. Excellent. So over to the left, where it's got the 1 for your question right there. So what you could do is if you hit that, so see how it created that little plus sign? You can drag that plus sign down to where it's right beside your 1.
Oops. Here.
So click on the image first to add it. Perfect. And then let's add maybe a show your work. It's over to the right column. And then let's say you had clicked in the wrong area. After you've got the question in, you would be able to drag that little 2 marker if you needed to put it over in the left where it's marking the question.
Okay.
So now the student knows that number 2 basically goes with this question, and then they would answer the question here. Now you could change it to where it matches the question more appropriately. Like on this one, it's asking them to choose a graph. So you could say, even your question could be, choose the graph and then recreate it, right? So that they are recreating it. Or you could actually make that a multiple choice question and say A, B, C, or D.
So if they chose the graph, they could circle it or.
So no, we'll see. I'll show what this looks like. So if you did a edit your or show your own work, you really aren't giving them a choice of A, B, C, or D. You're actually asking them to draw something. Okay. So you might say choose a graph and recreate it.
Or they can also type their answer with all those options on the toolbar at the side.
They could type their answer. You're right. So if I already had an A, B, C, or D, I would probably, Katina, choose a different, I probably wouldn't choose a show my work right now. I might choose a, click that plus sign. Let's see if we can change that. Oh, that's adding your math stuff there. Well, let's go down and we'll choose another one, because you could delete this one and then do a different one. Okay. Perfect. And then hit the plus sign.
Do I need to click on it here?
Yes, yes, thank you.
Click
Yeah,
here
it's better with
first.
those instructions. Yes, click there. And then we're going to do a multiple choice. It's in the first column towards the bottom in blue. First blue column. Mhm. And then,
I didn't like that. Well, I get, yes, yes, okay.
so you see how the difference here, this one, they're just looking at the graphs on your paper and choosing one.
Yes.
Now, pause for a second, because if you want them to choose it, but then maybe show you why, right below where you have your A, B, C, or D, you could also say show your work. See where it has randomized order?
Okay.
And then you could include that as well. Like once they choose one, then they might have to explain it.
And where could I say explain why?
In the top where your question's at, where it says type your question,
Okay.
there's where you could say choose your
Choose
answer.
and choose
and
and
explain.
explain. Okay. Okay.
Any other questions about how this PDF or document and adding those markers?
I'll finish that later.
Okay, Katina, if you will stop sharing. Leanne, we have time if you want to show them the library question too. That might be useful. This is very helpful, I think.
You can grab questions that have already been created from the library. So let's see, let's find a good one. Like if you just wanted to insert a question, you see this one, you're like, oh yeah, we're studying this. You click add. My computer is extra slow right now. And there it is.
So if you're doing some formative assessment, and we've got a lot of teachers who are using this in all content areas across the county, or this formative library, that's a great way to grab one more question. Maybe you need one more on a standard or something that you're looking at.
There's also the library where you can find actual lessons and units even that have been created. So you'll see when you go to library up here at the top, you can search for a variety of lessons that have already been created and used by teachers. So if you wanted to do something like SEL, for example, social emotional learning, now this is just an example of what you might find in there. But you can see that this teacher who added this to the library has created some questions to go along with the YouTube video that they put into the formative.
So I want to pause for a second. This one is so nice. And it might be nice to start off your students with something like this that's it's not an assessment really at all. So they get used to the program and then move into something that might be a formative assessment. But if you'll click back on that one for just a minute, Leanne, this one is really unique because we added a audio input for a student to respond, but a teacher could also add an audio file as part of the question itself. And this would be a great scaffolding piece to put in for ELL students or
all about our brain and the different parts of our brain. Now
Right.
we're going to look at how our emotions are connected with our brain.
So this teacher's added voice and they've added some video to work with the students and then let them respond. So from this page, if I wanted to use this, obviously to the right, I would click add this formative and it would add it to my bank of formatives. And then I can go to those formatives and assign. Because we're running short of time, I want to go over two more things and then we'll open it up for some questions and then let you finish. And I think I'm going to let you, Leanne, just stay sharing your screen. If you'll go back to the formative at the top that we were on, our last thing is you've created a formative. Now, what do you do with it? So click on classes. And if you'll watch me for a second, then I'll let you practice. If you'll watch Leanne's screen for 1 second. We wanted to point out that we found the Clever roster is not your best option. So what we would prefer, if you use Google Classroom, it's so easy to connect your classrooms. You would just simply click the Google Classroom Sync. It's the second option. And it will ask you, I'm going to let you go ahead and click that, Leanne, if you don't mind, just so you can kind of see. It'll connect your Google accounts. It'll let you choose a class, and it'll import all of your students with their emails. And so it's connected your class already. They've already been a part of your class, and then you can give assignments that way. So notice how I pulled up all of her classes and she just chose one to sync. If you're using Canvas, we actually prefer that you go to New Class and create manually your class. So maybe type in Canvas example, pick an icon, and of course your favorite color, right? And select grades and the subject. Any of them work for me right now? And if you scroll down, these are some optional other things that you can do. So you can choose your department if you want to be part of a department, and then you'll scroll down and click create. At that moment, you'll get the information you'll need to share with your students. So hit create. And you can also pull this back up when you want to add students. So it's like Pear Deck or some of the other programs where you would have that open right when the students are there and say, we'd like for you to go to formative.com/join and type in this code to be part of our class, my class. The reason we ask Canvas users to do that is because whenever you go through Clever, it pulls in their Clever account number and not their email. And then it's really hard for us to make some of the Canvas features work, such as grade pass back and the integration feature. So again, if you'll close that, the two ways we'd like for you to add a class, and you can do that when we're finished in just a second, is either to sync a Google Classroom or add it manually. And finally, still watching, once you've got a class, then what you're going to do is back at your formatives, the formative you've created today, you'll just click on that formative. So the spooky season one that Leanne was creating with you. Remember our three tabs across the top? We just simply click assign, and there's your class. So we hope you have the tools to go forward today and create. And before we end out in just a minute, we'll show you some more resources, but we want to open it up to any kind of questions because we would love for you to do a formative tomorrow or sometime this week or next week with your kids. Any questions? Okay. If you will go back to the slides then, we are at 429 and I've got all of your names. I was clicking on the My Learning Plan link and for some reason it's not being active. So I'm going to manually add you to My Learning Plan, but I do want to show you, I'd love for you to bookmark these slides and keep these because if you'll scroll down, I'm going to show you a few things that are here just to kind of, first of all, starting with slide number 17, everything that we did today, we've added these little video clips that are part of Formative's training site, and they're 2-minute videos. So if you are stuck on creating a formative, you'll go to this slide. And if you'll keep going down, Leanne, for me, maybe how to assign it. I went over that quickly. So if you're doing that and you're running into problems, how to grade it. Remember, Leanne did that with some of the data and looking at how to grade. So I'm going to click on down. All of these are, and pause right there. This is a really good one. As you get more familiar, embedding interactive sites like Desmo's Calculator or maps, graphing sites, this shows you how you can embed things other than just images. All right. And if you'll go on down, we have other types of instructional videos, but towards the end, we also have some great, I think, slides to help you think about ways to use formative. So previewing. In the top where it says more ideas, there's another great article with examples. And these are teacher blogs with examples of how they've done it. These are some of the ones we did with previewing today. So if you keep going forward on the slides, how to do a quick write, like this would be a wonderful way, because on that next one with quick write, that next slide past it, one of the new features with Formative is that you can put it in teacher pace mode. So we could have started that Formative with you where you went in and told us how you were feeling for the day. We could have done a kind of previewing question, and then I could have guided it so you only saw those questions. Then I could have pushed it to the next question and ended the class with an exit ticket. So there are different ways that you can use Formative, and these last few slides give you some ideas. So thank you for coming and hanging out with us. And if you don't, Leanne, do you have anything else?
I'm good.
Okay. All right.